Well, the first of a string of Supreme Court rulings. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against the independent state legislature theory. Local 5's Dana Searles has more on what this means for Iowa.
Stephanie, a ruling that one legal expert is calling a bit of a surprise, a theory that was brought to attention after the 2020 election. Now, if this theory was adopted, it would have reshaped the way elections are ran, giving the power to the state legislature to decide election rules. However, this theory was not adopted, and here is what this means for Iowa. In a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court is leaving the power in the hands of federal laws, rejecting a theory that has strong opinions.
As I said, this is a very radical idea because it could mean all kinds of mischief. You know, the legislature could say, we'll only count the votes of Republicans, or we'll only count the votes of Democrats, or we'll only count the votes of whites, or we'll only count the... I mean, if you took their theory to its ultimate end, things like that would be allowed, which is crazy.
Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the Iowa Supreme Court is required to uphold these laws, but things would look very different if the states were making decisions regarding election laws.
Well, the Iowa Supreme Court is a different creature, of course, than the U.S. Supreme Court. It has different dynamics. It is purely a Republican-appointed court at this point, which, of course, isn't true at the federal level. Does that mean they're all going to vote alike, in lockstep? Not necessarily, no.
However, Chief Justice John Roberts says in his opinion that while state legislatures clearly have the authority to enact election laws, state courts also can review those laws and decide if they are legal under the state constitution. Also warning that this doesn't give free rein to put limits on legislatures' action.
If the court had ruled otherwise, then the Iowa legislature could say, we don't care what the redistricting commission says, we're just going to do redistricting ourselves. And the Iowa Supreme Court would not be able to enforce the Iowa Constitution.
This law would have allowed state legislatures to make decisions on all aspects of elections, from how people register to vote to where districting lines are across the state. Experts say that states can always give more rights. They can never give fewer rights. So the Iowa Supreme Court will address the Iowa Constitution as they see fit. Stephanie?
Dana, thank you.